Happy Halloween, guys! Today I have this slightly more sinister version of Wanda Maximoff, also known as the Scarlet Witch. This makeup look is an interpretation of a comic version that I saw of the Scarlet Witch. I also do the generic makeup look for the Scarlet Witch, so keep on watching and I'll tell you where to stop if you don't want to create the more Halloween appropriate version. This makeup shouldn't take you too long to recreate. It's very simple. We're going to start off by doing our makeup pretty much the usual way. You can prime your skin if you are oily or combination, and then go in with your choice of foundation. I want something that's very skin-like, so I've chosen the Armani Luminous Silk. If you would like a high street alternative for this foundation, a great dupe in my opinion is the Milani 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. I did do a review comparing both of these. While they are not twins, they are definitely very similar, and I think the price point for the Milani is definitely a great alternative choice. Once you've applied a nice thin layer of this foundation, you can then go in with a damp beauty blender to bounce this over the entire face to make sure there's no streaky marks. Also, don't forget to take your foundation down your neck and over your ears and into your hairline. That way you'll have a completely seamless base. I'm going to add a small highlight just to the centre of the face. I'm going to take this ByTerry Hyaluronic Serum Concealer. I'm going to use this to brighten the inner corner of the eyes. I'm adding some brightness to the cheeks, a little bit around my nose, a small amount on my chin and the centre of my forehead. And then I'm just going to bounce that in with my damp beauty blender. This is such a beautiful concealer because it's so lightweight and it really is like second skin, so you're not going to be looking cakey. As I'm going to be applying a kind of strawberry blonde caramel coloured wig, I want the eyebrows to be similar. So I'm going into my Anastasia Beverly Hills Eyebrow Pro palette, and I'm taking this powder duo in the shade Caramel, and I'm going to run that through my eyebrows, filling them in, making them a little bit fuller. I have a reference image of Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch just as a reference. I'm not trying to look like her as I don't have the same face shape, but I'm using that as a reference alongside the comic book version that I'm going to be using as my reference a little bit later on. Don't forget your eyebrow gel. If you are going to be using this for a look on a night out, you want your brows to stay in place all night. I'm using the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter in Clear. Moving on to the eye makeup, I'm going to take this Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk eye pencil. I'll be honest, I've never reached for this pencil before now. I've kept it as a just in case, and today it's perfect because we want some redness around the eyes. This is very warm and it's great if you have green eyes. We are going to be popping in some green contact lenses, so this is really going to make that green pop. Next I'm taking Marooned by Nude Sticks. I'm going to pop this on the back of my hand before taking a synthetic blending brush to work this onto my eyes. You can pop this straight on the skin. I just find using the method of warming it up on the back of your hands just makes it blend nicer onto the eyes. This does not have to be perfect. This is a wash of colour before we're going to go in with some eyeshadow to work on top. Ordinarily, we wouldn't take this on the outer bridge of the nose, but we really want to take it onto the inner corner and up underneath the front of our eyebrow. We are then going to blend this all the way across the lid, on the mobile lid as well as above and underneath that brow to the outer tail of the eyebrow, which we're then going to extend in a V shape outwards, and we will keep coming back to this just to darken it when we get the eyeshadow, but for now just use what's left on your brush to pull the colour outwards. This is going to lift the outer corner of the eye. I'm then taking a smaller brush and still working off the back of my hand to take that same shade underneath our lower eyelashes. Again, don't be afraid to take this quite low. We really are going to be working into this later on. I'm also going to take the crown and then pop that in place so I can just make sure that the extension of the eyeshadow is coming out far enough when I'm wearing it. The eyeshadow colour that we're mostly going to be using today is this matte one by Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Deep Plum, and on my MAC 286 brush I'm starting to trace over the area that we applied the shade Marooned. This look really does contain a lot of layering, so we will be going over this later with some deeper shades if you decide you want to take this further. However, you just stop wherever you feel most comfortable. Here I'm taking this on the outer third of that mobile lid in circular motions, and I'm deepening the outer socket, using what's left in the bristles to work that up towards the brow, still leaving a little bit of skin showing, and then also extending outwards, but I'm only using what's left on the bristles to extend this outwards, otherwise it will be too dark. Don't be worried if you do make this too dark. You can go back in with your foundation brush and just softly bounce over the top in a stippling motion to soften the shade. Don't swipe it completely away, just tap over it and it will soften. Don't forget to also take that shade underneath your lower eyelashes and make sure it connects with the outer corner of the top lid, so we have a nice framing to the eye. And don't be afraid to use your fingers just to sharpen up the lines. You can also use a brush to do this. On my reference images of Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch, I can see there is a slight shimmer to the lid, so I'm taking this shade by Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Glisten, and I'm using my finger to press this on the centre of the eyelid, but I'm also taking it up at a diagonal angle towards the arch of the eyebrow. I find that shimmers always go on better with your finger, however feel free to use a brush. Use a small, tightly condensed brush like a flat shader. You'll lose less of that pigment in the bristles. It also won't fly around on your face like it would if you applied it with a blending brush. I'm going back in with a small amount of plum, and I mean a really small amount, just to blend over and soften the appearance of glisten. I just want it to fade in slightly. Along the top lid, very close to the lash line, I'm taking a black pencil. This one is by Zoeva, but you can use any soft black kohl. Then take your small blending brush and start buffing that along the root of your eyelashes to create a very soft liner. You'll find this also helps to round the eye slightly because we're not winging it out on the outer corner. I'm taking a little bit of that black liner on a small brush close to the root of my lower eyelash line, and also making sure I connect that on the outer corner of the top lid. It's really important to close that little gap so it frames the eye, and again this will help with that round effect. Here I'm just going in and deepening the outer corner and inner corner of the eye with a little bit more of plum before going back in with my pencil to tight line the top waterline. You don't have to do this, but I really do feel like it adds to the smokiness of this eye look, which I think is important. Remember, this is Scarlet Witch when she is lightly pissed off. I've taken a small amount of that black just along the front of the tear duct, but I don't want to completely eradicate the warm tone that we've got along the waterline. I think the redness really helps with the appearance of being angry. As you would have just seen, I have deepened this outer V shape and then re-blending that with a clean blending brush. I'm going to be using the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Powder to set my face strategically. So I'm going to start off with my forehead, but I will come back to this powder in a little while. So I'm just going to powder the forehead to begin with. Then I'm taking my Kevyn Aucoin contour powder in medium, and I'm using a fluffy blending brush to take that down the sides of my nose. Again, we're not trying to necessarily look like Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch, but I am using her as a reference image, so I'm just going to contour my nose similarly to hers, so straight down the centre, a little bit of an upside down V on the outer edges of the nose, and then shortening the very front by darkening underneath the tip. On an angled brush, I'm taking this contour powder around the top of the forehead just to shorten it slightly. A lot of this will be covered by the front of the wig but also the crown, but it's still worth applying the contour to this area. Foundation takes away a lot of the shadows on the face, so we're just reapplying those with a little bit of the contour powder. Now we're getting down towards the cheekbone area. I'm applying some more of the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Powder to set that foundation. Then I'm popping my crown in place so I can use the edging of the crown as a guide for where I'm going to apply the contour to the hollows of the cheeks. Remember, this is a slightly more sinister character, so don't be afraid to go a little bit more severe with your contour than you would if you were applying this for everyday wear. Ordinarily we wouldn't come down this far with our contour, and we definitely wouldn't take it down the front of the face towards the chin, but I really want to enhance this area to give a slightly more gaunt appearance, slightly more severe looking. Generic Scarlet Witch does not necessarily have this appearance to the face. Elizabeth Olsen's face is slightly more heart-shaped than mine and doesn't need this, but they definitely would enhance this area if she was becoming more evil. We're going back onto the eyes. I'm going to take the Lancome Lash Idole mascara. You can use any mascara that works for you. We're just applying a light layer of mascara to enhance our eyelashes, just to give a slightly more feminine appearance, but it's not about the lashes. You never see Elizabeth wearing false eyelashes. If she's got tiny individuals, they are supernatural. So we are just going with mascara for this look. If you're wanting just the generic Scarlet Witch appearance, then finish off with some lips and blush, which you can follow along with here. I'm applying a different colour to show you what I would apply if I was going as a generic Scarlet Witch. However, for the final look, I will pop something different onto my lips. But for now, this is a warm tone called Lose Control by NARS. And then I'm popping a little bit of foundation over the top to dull it down, And then I'm going to pop a tiny amount of the plum eyeshadow because I really want the lips to match the tone of the eyes. So really I'm just kind of copying what I've done on the eyes but on the lips as well. This will help to tie in the entire makeup look, especially when you're wearing your crown, and if you have green contact lenses this will look so nice. I'm going to take this Nude Sticks Stacks in the shade Sunkissed as the blush. Looking at my reference image of Elizabeth, you can see that the crown creeps down onto the cheek, so that's why they've applied the blush on the apples of the cheeks but slightly low. So we are doing the same. You want to apply this on the lower half of the apple of your cheek and then take your foundation brush and blend this in, tap over it, stipple it in just so it's a lot softer, but keep the placement here so that when you have your crown on you can still see a little bit of your blush. And that is where you would stop for your generic Scarlet Witch. From this point on we're creating our more sinister looking Scarlet Witch. So I'm going back to my MAC blending brush and a little bit of that plum, and I'm going to start working down the centre of our eyes. I'm also going to be working from the front of the brow up at a diagonal. You'll want to mirror this on the opposite side, but bear with me because I'm kind of working out what I'm doing as I go, so I will match the other side later on, but for now I'm kind of working out what it is that I'm doing. So I'm going to take some of that plum shade also down the hollows of the cheeks to really enhance this part of the face. This is going to be a base colour underneath what we're going to be working on, which is kind of almost a bit like, think of veins and scratches. It's kind of a mixture of those because this is a artwork that we're copying from, and that's kind of what it looks like, and I thought it would look really good, but I wasn't sure to what degree I wanted to take it, so that's why it's a bit of a work in progress. When it comes to longevity, you want to use something like alcohol paints because these are really good for staying all day. However, you could use eyeshadows mixed with some mixing mediums such as the Inglot Duraline. This is going to make it waterproof. Opt for kind of red and slightly burgundy tones. That's the kind of shades that I'm working with here. I will go in with some black eyeshadow in a little while to really start deepening this, but over the areas that I've applied the plum shade, I'm now creating these, what I'm referring to as scratch and vein hybrids. They're almost kind of squiggly lines that I'm then patting in before they dry down, so they're slightly softer, almost smoky looking. This is another Anastasia Beverly Hills matte eyeshadow. This one is black, it's called Noir, and using my MAC 286 blending brush, I'm working this on the inner corner of the eye to really enhance this area. I'm working in small circular motions, buffing it into the front of the eyebrow and also down at the bridge of the nose. We're using the black here just to enhance this area. We don't want to completely eradicate the maroon burgundy tones that are synonymous with Scarlet Witch. So don't go crazy. Use a clean blending brush to buff everything in to make sure it's still seamless, and then use what's left on your bristles on the outer third of the mobile lid and also use it to enhance that outer V, and then also coming down the centre of the face over the top of those lines that we've created. So I now need to mirror the opposite side of my brow, so I'm going to use the plum tone to mimic the same sort of shape that I've created on the left side of my face, now on the right side. I'm then going back to my angled brush and copying the same through the hollows of the cheeks here. I'm also going to run some down the side of my jaw. Once you have those colours down as your base, we're then going to go back in with either the eyeshadow and your mixing medium, or if you're going to copy me and use the Skin Illustrator paints, we're going to create kind of like red tones but also slightly burgundy. We'll add in a hint of black to some of those lines and be really subtle with them. What I love about working with alcohol paints is that as you lay them down you can tap them in, you have a couple of seconds working time. Here I'm just covering my mouth because I was like, I don't know if I want to do the bottom half of my face here. I was really liking the top half and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to keep the bottom half a bit cleaner because we are doing along the jawline. So that's the beauty of makeup. You can go in with some foundation, buff over the top, and it will just completely eradicate those lines. So I'm just working over some of the areas that I wanted to create more of these squiggly lines. Again, this is an interpretation of that comic book artwork. I really liked this look. It just feels a little bit more evil, a little bit more sinister, and I feel like that's more appropriate for Halloween. If this was a generic fancy dress party in, say, like November or June, you could just go a Scarlet Witch, but for Halloween it needs to be a little bit more sinister. You could even go as far as wearing like red contact lenses with this look. I think that would really work well because I've seen some of the artwork where Scarlet Witch's eyes turn red, or maybe they're red from the glow of the orbs in her hands, but either way I think that would also look really cool. Here I'm taking a lip colour by Nude Sticks in the shade Raven. I wanted something a bit deeper, but I want to leave that as an undertone and then go in with something slightly orangier. So I'm using the shade Fringe, also by Nude Sticks, over the top, again just to tie in some of those warmer tones that we've got on the eyes. And then I'm just taking a bit of plum down the neck just to tie the face and neck in. This step's optional. Some of that artwork had some splatter work over it, which I really quite liked. A little bit like a splattering of blood, but maybe not. I don't know, it is Halloween. So I'm just doing a very tiny amount over the kind of hybrid scratch lines that we've got going on the face. Again, I'm using the alcohol paints to do this, but if you really water down your eyeshadow, you can still achieve this same look with a stiff brush. After popping a little bit more on the neck, I popped in some green contact lenses, I put the crown on, put the outfit on, put this wig on that I happen to have that's very similar to the classic Wanda colour. And that completed my Scarlet Witch Halloween makeup tutorial. This is my interpretation of a Halloween version. I really hope you liked it. I will try and list and link everything I've used in the description bar. Please give the tutorial a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you're going as this for Halloween, please tag me in any photos. Hit subscribe if you are new to my channel. My name is Shonagh Scott and I'm a professional makeup artist. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!